Ian, welcome to Real Vision. It's a pleasure to have you here. We met a few months ago at the Bitcoin conference. We've been talking on and off about some really interesting aspects of blockchain, cryptocurrency in a regulated financial services environment. It's a conversation I'm really looking forward to having today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I think we're at the start of a very exciting and new adventure in capital markets.
Yeah. Ian, just to get folks started, let's talk a little bit about your background on the buy side, running money, and how you got to do what you're doing today.
Sure. So my first job out of Berkeley was working at the United Nations. I have a degree in political economy and physics and strong interest in development economics. So I worked at the UN in Geneva. And after 2 years of that, I moved to China for 5 years and did private equity. Came back to the States and was on the buy side as a trader and then portfolio manager for almost 15 years, notably 10 years at a fund called Autonomy Capital, where we did a lot of global macro sovereign capital stack, sovereign distressed investing. I was a client of my current firm, Macor, and its family of companies, Oscar Gruss, now with the purchase of Churchill Securities, and of course our cryptocurrency business, which is called Enigma. And so I was a client of the firm. My contrary trader instinct told me that the sell side and banking had been left for dead. For me, there just was too much money and too much opportunity. We'd seen sort of a slide in the quality of service. I'd experienced that in 15 years in managing Doe. And I saw in Macor and the family of Macor companies just a tremendous degree of sophistication and competence. And I think our business model is just a better one and very much a next generation one. And so when the opportunity came for me to run the business here in New York at Oscar Gruss, I snapped up that chance. And I've been here now for about a year. I will say that the emergence of crypto and what it means, though I expected it to be a big deal, has turned out to be an even bigger deal. And integrating crypto and however we think about that, whether that's Bitcoin per se, Ethereum, smart contracts, stablecoins, digital wallets, a new breed of financial services, however we think about those things, it's really coming into its own. And as a vortex, going to take with it all financial markets, financial services, banking, et cetera.
Yes, all of which and more we will talk about in just one moment. But tell us a little bit about the Macor family of companies, what you do now, what the structure is. You mentioned Macor, Oscar Gruss, Churchill, Enigma. What are the relationships of those firms to each other? What function does each serve? And what are you doing there right now specifically?
Sure. So Macor was founded 10 years ago by two gentlemen that were running Cantor in Europe. Their focus being event-driven merger arb in the equity space. They understood going into the advent of the euro that there'd be significant opportunities for cross-continental acquisitions, mergers, integrations. And that continues to be quite an interesting story. And so by building a business around sophisticated arbitrage transactions that require an understanding of the regulatory, the legal, the financial, the strategic, the management teams, it put them in a position to have some of the most sophisticated clients in the world. In taking that ethos, that idea, and hiring incredibly smart people, not what I'd say the average sort of broker or sell side people would be. I think we're anything but average. They've understood that adding a lot of value is recognized by very sophisticated, very top tier sorts of clients. We've now been able to replicate that across other asset classes that are of complexity. So equity derivative, structured products, SPACs, but also in the macro space where I was a client of our FX options business before coming here. And I think we have as many former risk takers on the FX options team as we have traditional salespeople. And there's just a tremendous amount of sophistication in an asset class that has sort of infinite permutations, where we can add a lot of value and help on structuring. That's equity derivatives and other things. A few years ago, Macor bought Oscar Gruss to give it a U.S. footprint. New York, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. So it was important for Macor to be in the U.S. That also gave us Oscar Gruss Israel, where now we have a significant amount of our technology, middle and back office, and a stellar reputation as sort of the original broker in Israel on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. And so that effectively became our U.S. business, if you will. Just recently, we've got FINRA approval and now fully own a firm called Churchill Securities, another firm. Oh, let me back up. Oscar Gruss itself has had a tremendous reputation in event-driven merger arb. So in having Macor in Europe and having Oscar Gruss in the US really does make us a leader in this space. We've bought Churchill Securities, a top 1, 2, 3 player in event-driven merger arb. Their European presence, their US presence, and their Asia presence now makes us across the family of companies, the clear leader in event-driven merger arb in Europe, the United States, and in Asia. And so those 3 businesses are quite complementary. We do quite a bit across those businesses. Many clients are onboarded with us in both Oscar Gruss and in Macor for in different ways and shapes. And the founders of Macor believed relatively early on, I'd say, for traditional finance folks in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and what that would be. So Enigma was started in 2017, like Churchill, like Oscar Gruss, is a wholly owned subsidiary of Macor. And Enigma is our cryptocurrency business. It is FCA regulated. It is as regulated as any cryptocurrency broker can be. Obviously, the regulations are changing, but we have a number of institutional clients that are traditional hedge funds, asset managers, et cetera, that trade with us. And so now we sit at a very interesting nexus where we can trade with an institutional client Ethereum. We can do borrowing and lending in Bitcoin, but we can trade Apple stock and we can trade euro dollar and we can trade oil futures and we can do it across this in an increasingly agnostic way. So crypto not as something that sits separate, but something that we can think about across arbitrage strategies, across directional investments in the infrastructure of what we'll call sort of the new Wall Street, and to sort of bring a full suite of institutional service to clients.
Yeah. So to break it down, first of all, FCA, Financial Conduct Authority, the British counterpart of SEC, the primary financial services regulator in the UK for our American audience. We should say you are also now president of the US, US Macor Group. And when we talk, often you're coming to us from your office today, but you usually have a trading floor behind you, populated by traders who are trading presumably everything under the sun. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are trading. I know you also have an investment banking business and an investment arm.
Sure. So we've got a very strong event-driven merger arb equity business here. And I focus more on the macro side of the business. The equity arb guys are so smart, I really can't possibly, add much intellectual value there. They're an incredibly strong team. On the macro side, we're trading interest rates. Now, because of changes in regulations, we can trade interest rate products. So pre Dodd-Frank and Volcker and the post-08 regulatory regime, you would need a multi-billion-dollar balance sheet to engage in interest rate trading. Now, because the authorities have made that product be cleared, we are at almost a tremendous competitive advantage. For clients, we can source liquidity from myriad places where they wouldn't be able to get it. And we can have a very different cost structure because I don't need a multi-billion-dollar balance sheet to be engaged in that space. And so we're trading interest rate product, we're trading FX options and electronic foreign exchange trading, spot foreign exchange trading, and FX options. We're trading directionally with a whole host of different kinds of accounts that are focused on different investment strategies in the equity derivative space, and as well as what we're doing in crypto. So I sit here thinking about cross-asset class investing, advising clients on cross-asset class investing, cross-asset class structuring, opportunities increasingly in the crypto space. And we have an investment banking business where we've done a couple interesting deals this year and have a very exciting pipeline coming in traditional investment banking. But I think as I look at 2022 and into 2023, the investment banking we do in the digital space is really going to be very exciting.
Hey, if you like this clip, be sure to check out the full interview and more only on realvision.com/crypto. It's 100% free. Sign up now.